You're listening to All Marine Radio, broadcasting from Costa Mesa, California, on the All Warrior Radio Network. That's exactly what that means. All right, good morning to you. Let me tell you what's going to happen on the show, and then we will get after it right away. The show today, talking with a friend yesterday, they said, hey, Mac, you've done this show for 10 years, and I hear you talking about interviews that, you've done. Would you ever play any of them? And I thought about that, and I thought, yeah, I will. And so you're going to hear this morning in a few minutes. I think he's a major general. His name's Eric Smith. So you're going to hear him this morning. And the interview's done in 2005 in Ramadi. Awesome interview. In Ramadi. Ramadi's Thunderdome. Thunderdome on the Euphrates. That would be the city of Ramadi. So you're going to hear that. And he's engaged in hooking and jabbing every day. And it's a good interview. It's a good interview. It's a great interview, actually. I was being modest there. But the interviews are awesome. Eric Smith is now, and he's a big-time general, too. He's doing something with the Secretary of Defense. This Marine general will take over as the Pentagon Chief's top military advisor. Top military assistant. Okay. So that's what he's doing now. Brigadier General Eric Smith. All right, so he's a brigadier general now. I meet him. He's a lieutenant colonel. We meet probably in Pendleton before I deployed. He's part of the 1st Marine Division G3. He was current ops. I was working in plans. We deploy, and, you work together every day. So you're going to hear Eric Smith talk about the resolute purpose of them being there, what they felt while they were there. So again, this is from 2005. A friend of mine told me, hey, you should play those interviews because they're awesome. He's heard them before. So anyway, on a Thursday, the 9th of June, you're going to hear from, at the time, the battalion commander of the 1st Battalion, 5th Marines, engaged in combat on a daily basis. Now Brigadier General, at the time Lieutenant Colonel Eric Smith. Here he is in his own words.
Oh, man. I had this great music all lined up, and what happens goes right into the old crapper. Joining me from Ramadi in the garden spot of the nation of Iraq is Lieutenant Colonel Eric Smith. Hey, sir, how are you?
Hey, Mac. Good. How are you doing, my friend?
I got no problems today. Living here in God's country, up in northeast North Dakota, northwest Minnesota. Great people, and thinking about you though.
Hey, thinking about you too, man. You said living in God's country. I thought for a minute you moved down to Texas.
No, first of all, Lieutenant Colonel Eric Smith is the commanding officer of the 1st Battalion, 5th Marines, of which I was a member of as lieutenant. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that he does good things with that organization. And then, a native of Texas.
I am. We're almost done demacifying 1-5 Mac. I'm proud.
All right, born and raised in Texas, what city?
From Plano. I was actually born in Missouri. Don't tell anybody. But grew up in Plano, Texas, north of Dallas.
And went to college at?
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M. And a lot of people don't know that, but there's a huge stigma attached to the Texas A&M. These guys are goofballs from a mile away. They wear those goofy, tall, brown boots. And the best part about it is that they think that it's cool.
What I've always loved about you, Mac, is the fact that you cut nobody out, no matter where they are or what they're doing. And I appreciate that about you.
Well, tell me about it. Did you wear the big, tall, brown boots?
I did.
You did?
I did.
When you were wearing them, did you think that was a really cool thing to do?
Oh, absolutely.
Now, as you look back on that in your youth, does that trouble you? That you would have thought that looking like a goofball was a very cool thing to do.
Oh, I haven't seen all the bad stuff you and I see. Very little actually bothers me anymore, so no, not too much. Not too much. Useful indiscretion.
All right, so we're talking to Lieutenant Colonel Eric Smith. He is in a place known as Hurricane Point still, yes, sir, or have you moved?
Nope, still here, Hurricane Point, far western edge of the town of Ramadi.
All right. And when did 1st Battalion, 5th Marines get over in Ramadi?
Came back here the very 1st of March of this year. Third deployment here to Iraq for a good portion of the battalion.
All right, and let's talk about you for a second, sir. When you and I met, you were the operations officer for the 1st Marine Division, and you and I went over. I was in plans, you went over to. We went over to Ramadi together. You then proceeded to get shot in the right through the calf and be on crutches and light duty and assorted other maladies. Who among all the officers in the division could go fetch drugs for you like nobody?
You did, Mac. I tell you, nobody can grab Percocet like you can, although I'm still missing several bottles.
Well, we won't talk about that, but so you actually we had General Kelly on. I want to say a week or two ago. We've had a lot of the guys that you and I have served together with. Dan Robertson has been on. And Steve Thompson has been on.
Great guys.
Steve Thompson was on.
Steve's a tremendous guy. Talking
about what it's like to be wounded and go through that whole pipeline. And I want to talk to you about that because you asked me to do you a favor relative to guys down at the Burden Unit in San Antonio. So I want to talk to you about that. But you spent some time with the 1st Marine Division, and then towards the end of that deployment, you headed down south. You headed east to the 1st Marine Regiment and participated in the assault on Fallujah.
Well, sort of. I didn't. I went over to 1st Marine Regiment as the XO, and I was there from June through October.
Oh, so you pulled the chute.
I did. I actually left. Colonel Shoup was there. I left October 5th to come back here come back to the U.S. to pick up the battalion. So Fallujah, which was the big assault on Fallujah, didn't happen until November.
Right.
So I missed that by a month, and then picked up the 1st Battalion, 5th Marines, did a little training, and came right back over.
All right, and so let's talk about the 1st Battalion, 5th Marines. They left Iraq, the vicinity of Fallujah. They participated in operations, the first assault on Fallujah, and then they went back home to the United States in June.
That's correct. Yeah, they were one of the initial battalions into Fallujah in April of 2004 after the Blackwater contractors were killed, unfortunately, there in the city. And then they participated in that assault, went home in June, did a little training, got ready to come back, and then poof, we're right back here in the town of Ramadi, fighting in an urban environment, kind of like last time. So the battalion's got tremendous experience. Got a lot of great Marines here. I mean, well, we got all great Marines. I don't have any bad ones.
All right, so let's talk about the difference in a year. I was a friend of ours was just over in Iraq and came back, actually out in the Al-Qaim area, the Husayba area, west of where you are right now. And I visited with him via the email. I said, what's changed in Anbar in the year that has transpired since a lot of us have been there? And he said, Mac, I have to be honest with you, not a whole lot. Let me ask you the same question. What's changed if I went back to Ramadi today, what would be different than it was a year ago?
You would see a little difference in it. You remember Paulie Kennedy and guys like that who were fighting here back in 2004 were fighting sometimes a 50, 100, 200-man insurgent cell. They're down now to squad reinforced, and we're fighting 15, 25, 30 guys at a time. The Iraqi security forces are finally here. We've got 3 battalions of them in the city, so I don't want to be the eternal optimist here, but we do have some Iraqi security forces in the city. I mean, no kidding, in the city. And so that's the first step. So from my perspective, looking at it last year, when we literally had not a single Iraqi cop, not a single Iraqi Army guy anywhere in the Anbar province, now we've got 3 battalions just here in Ramadi. I see that as a bright spot. But the violence is still here. Don't let anybody kid you. It's still a very dangerous place, and there's still a formidable insurgent out there who's still got to be dealt with.
My guest this morning from the city of Ramadi in Iraq is Lieutenant Colonel Eric Smith. He's from Texas, but as you can listen and I'm sure deduce, he can string together at least 4 sentences in a row, so we've allowed him to be on the show today. The number here is 775-5559, 0092, star 1310 on your cell phone, or you can send an email to live@knoxradio.com, which is now faster than ever with high-speed internet from GF Wireless. Sir, you mentioned the Iraqi security forces. Again, when I was there, a lot of times we wouldn't let the police out of the police station for fear that they would run a car into, as they did on occasion, into us and try to kill us. Tell us about the Iraqi police. Is there a presence in Ramadi now?
No, very, very limited. I mean, a few being a few dozen Iraqi police. The Iraqi police are definitely second tier on our priority list right now. We're trying to bring the Iraqi army in. Once the army has come in and really put the insurgency down into a manageable level, then we hope to bring the Iraqi police up on top, or bring them in next. The Iraqi police, quite honestly, have proven to be pretty ineffective here, and I'm not sure that any quote cop, a guy running around with a Beretta 9mm is capable of handling an insurgent who's running around with heavy machine guns. So I think it's wise to have the police as second tier and first bring the army in, and that's what we're doing.
All right.
So the short answer is police presence very, very sparse right now.
All right. Let's talk about. You said there's 3 battalions of Iraqi army in Ramadi right now.
Yeah, Ramadi and the immediate surrounds. I mean, both sides of the river here where it splits in the canal.
All right,
the Ramadi area.
All right. Can you describe, are they all capable of independent, effective operations? Do they work in tandem with you? How are they employed?
They are not capable of independent operations right now, beyond the company level. But when we first got them, they weren't capable of independent operations at the squad level. So now I can actually push a company out and say, hey, this is what I want you to do. Here's our communications net, and we'll provide you some backup if needed. But they're actually capable of platoon and company ops by themselves now, which is promising. There's a long way to go, though. I mean, the problem is, I think the problem people make is they want to compare, or they want to use as a standard, as a benchmark, they want to use the Marine Corps. And anybody who wants to use the Marine Corps as a benchmark is going to be sorely disappointed in the outcome of whatever organization that is that's being compared to the Marine Corps. You got to compare them to any other third world military. Pick one, anywhere, Central America, Africa, or the Middle East, and they're getting there. But they're never going to be Marines or soldiers. And when you stand them up next to a Marine battalion, a lot of times they look bad. But again, that's like putting Mike Tyson in a ring with a high school boxer. It's just not the same.
Even on a serious note, my dad said, hey, it's not important to look good, just look better than the guy you're standing next to. So be very careful who you stand next to. But so much of what people hear back here in the States is, hey, we're standing these guys up. We're looking for them to be capable of independent operation, conducting independent operations. And as you said, the maturation of a military unit that you stand up for scratch is measured by contact after contact after contact. That is a bloody and slow process, is it not?
Absolutely. First few times, and as well as the rest of us, first few times you're in a gunfight, you learn things, and those that are not killed or wounded, you learn and you get smart. But that takes a while, and it's just like baking a cake. I can stick a cake in the oven, and because I want it baked faster, I can turn the oven up to 550, but it's just going to burn it. If you want to bake cake, it goes 300 or 350 or whatever it is. But there's a time process, and you just can't rush it. And people want to say, oh, they've got to do more, we got to do more. Well, I got to tell you, there's a certain amount of time that's required to do anything that's worthwhile. And building the military, as you said very accurately, is one of those. It's a maturation process.
My guest this morning is Lieutenant Colonel at the time, Eric Smith. He now a Brigadier General. And you're listening to an interview done in the year 2005. We had deployed to Ramadi, he and I together, as part of the 1st Marine Division G3 in 2004. That's when the big Fallujah fight was going on. Ramadi was Thunderdome. And he went back, took over the 1st Battalion, 5th Marines, and then went back. So this is Lieutenant Colonel Eric Smith from the vault, the audio vault, if you will. And an awesome interview. So have a listen.
Guest this morning from Ramadi, Iraq, is Lieutenant Colonel Eric Smith. Hey, sir, what about desertions among the Iraqi Army? They show up. Actually, somebody just emailed me a question. Hey, Matt, could you ask Colonel Smith what's the size of a platoon? What's the size of a company?
Yeah, Iraqi or American? Or I guess I can do both.
Yeah, you can do both.
Okay, American platoon, Marine platoon's about 40 guys. Company's about 175 guys. A battalion's about 1,000 guys. So that's ballpark. Iraqis are a little bit smaller. Their platoon would be somewhere around 30. Company about 100, 110, and the battalion about 700. So that gives you a rough ballpark of where they're leaning.
All right.
And you were asking something, Mac.
I was asking. We had. In the time I was there, the 10 months I left in December. In the 10 months that I was there, exactly, we tried to stand up, whether we called whatever organization you want to talk about relative to Iraqi security forces. I want to say probably 3 different times with the police. The Highway Patrol quit en masse in about November, and just a nightmare. And then you try to stand it up, you'd have desertions and whatnot, and then units would become combat ineffective. Do these guys want to be there? Will they stay? Do you have desertions still?
You know, surprisingly, last year we had huge desertions. As you remember, the Iraqi National Guard, the 505th, 506, just disbanded. These guys that we have now, they've been in gunfights. We've taken them into the city of Ramadi, which, as you know, is not a user-friendly place. We've had Jundi, Jundi, that's the word, that's like private. It's just like your Iraqi soldier is a Jundi.
Okay.
So we've had multiple Jundi shot, hit with RP or with fragmentation from rockets and from mortars and stuff. I haven't quit. I'm still sitting on somewhere, and we won't say exact numbers, but somewhere in the 700 range. There's been guys who say, hey, you know what, I'm done. But I'm talking, the 2, 3, 4%. The vast majority of these guys, they took their shots. They've got SAPI plates now. The Marines are helping them, and now they're operating independently. So, I've been pretty impressed with these guys' ability to take a hit. Suicide car bomb hit one of our posts and killed one of the Jundi, which is a pretty graphic and horrific experience for those around. And these guys were back at it the next day. And sure, they need some help. You got to kind of coach them and mentor them. But they're not quitting like they did last year, where the whole battalion just went away. That's not happening anymore.
And sir, and truth be told, everybody who participates in that needs help after after somebody gets blown into about 15 or 20 pieces.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's you got to remember your average Marine out here is 19. The old guys, quote, are 21, and so these guys they're seeing some pretty rotten things that they shouldn't have to see at this age, but they, along with their Iraqi counterparts, are going to need to digest that. You need that cohesiveness that a unit brings, and the family that a Marine platoon brings to each other, so you can kind of get through those times, because it's hard. It's a tough way to make a living. But I tell you, the Marines out here, you ask these guys if they're enjoying themselves, and they're going to tell you, hell no. This is rotten and it's hard. But you ask them if they're proud of what they're doing, and they're going to tell you, hell yes. And they do it again. I mean, 95% of them say, yeah, I'd come out here and do it again, because everybody keeps asking, what's this great ideal we're fighting for? Well, how about freedom? How about that one for a major or ideal, major cause? We believe in that. I don't know if anybody else back there does, but we certainly do.
Hey, sir, what about thoughts on Cindy Sheehan is down in your home state protesting outside? I see that, and to me, we're all adults when we go over there. We sign contracts, we volunteer, we go with our units when we go, and sad part of that business is not everybody comes back. Your thoughts being over there watching the fight, and then when you flip on CNN and seeing that? She's a mother who's lost her son, so she is, like every other American, entitled to say anything she wants to within the law. But I would say that me, also as an American who has every right, just like she or anyone else does, I think some of those statements are flat out wrong. The guy that kills American soldiers over here is an insurgent. He's an Iraqi or a Syrian or a Saudi, not the President of the United States. That's not who kills soldiers over here. That's just flat out wrong. You're right. We are all adults when we come in here, and I don't need. And I speak for me personally, nobody else. Right.
I don't. The only guy that speaks for me is me, and that's it. Nobody else gets to say what's on my mind. So she has every right to speak her piece. I do think there's a detrimental effect to anybody calling the commander-in-chief the kind of stuff that he's been called here recently to the troops over here, because we do follow the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and it hurts. It has an impact on the good order and discipline of the unit. But hey, we're all adults over here, and we can get through it. And again, she's a grieving mother. She can say what she wants, but so can I.
Eric Smith, Lieutenant Colonel at the time. This interview done in 2004. He's in Ramadi. I'm in the city of Grand Forks, North Dakota, doing a radio show. That's what you're listening to this morning on a Thursday edition, Hour 1 of All Marine Radio.
Live from Ramadi, Iraq, Lieutenant Colonel Eric Smith from the great state of Texas. He is the commanding officer of the 1st Battalion, 5th Marine Regiment, and they've been fighting in Ramadi since the 1st of March. Hey, sir, a couple more email questions for you. Mac,
thanks for the Texas pitch, bro.
Nobody's leaving North Dakota to go to Texas, just so you know. Okay, we watch Bright Lights, Big City, or whatever that football movie is, and know how crazy you are down there. So you guys need to get that high school. You guys need to get that high school football thing under control. By the way.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
All right, email question: what weapon do you see the most in Ramadi, and what weapon is the most deadly over there?
What we see the most often is an IED, an improvised explosive device, and that also happens to be the most deadly. I've lost 16 Marines, had about 120 wounded, and the majority of those deaths come from improvised explosive devices, which are anything that the insurgents can find to make a bomb out of. And this country is littered with explosives. And you can go back and say, oh, there's 10 tons or 50 tons or 300 tons of RDX that's missing all you want to, but believe me, there are millions of artillery rounds throughout this country, which, for 30 years lived under a dictator, and everybody and his mother was trying to overthrow this guy and stage a coup. So the country is an ammo dump. That's the most deadly, and the most disturbing thing about it is that it's an indiscriminate weapon. And for everybody who thinks that these guys are freedom fighters or just trying to free their country from, quote, the occupiers, they need to drink a very strong cup of coffee and wake up, because a bomb that goes off kills little kids here. And I know, because I picked them up off the street, what's left of them. It kills women and old men and innocent bystanders, because a bomb is indiscriminate. And that's what these guys choose to use, because they're gutless cowards. Or we would love for them to come out in the street with their AKs and we'll have a gunfight. That would be my dream. We'll finish this thing in about 10 minutes. But that's not the insurgent we fight. The guy we fight is a gutless coward who hides behind the bomb. And anyway, there's a short answer to your question.
All right. My guest, again, Lieutenant Colonel Eric Smith from the city of Ramadi. On what's the temperature like there tonight, sir?
You know what? I'm actually looking at an outdoor thermometer, Mac. It's about 110 right now.
Oh, so it's cooled off?
1930. Yeah, it's cooling off. It's just a balmy 110. It's about 125 in the day, with all the heat index and all that weird kind of stuff. It's a little warm. Translate
1930 for us for the rest of America.
1930 would be 7:30 p.m. So
all right. So
the time when it should be cool out.
7:30 at night. And have you had dinner tonight?
No. I'm working on that.
You're working on heading over to the beautiful chow hall over at Hurricane Point?
I am indeed. The chow hasn't changed a bit, nor has the chow, I might add.
Good for you.
Literally, the chow, there's still a plate of it from when you were here. It's the same stuff.
Nice. What about Lance Corporal Nagel from Jamestown, who did a great job? You helped get him on the show here and won the Navy Commendation with the Combat V by
Yes, he did.
Hey, tell me about the garbage truck that he stopped that day.
Let me tell you that. Lance Corporal Nagel, who was then a private first class from your great state, I might add.
North Dakota.
He is at North Dakota. He is a guy's a hero. I mean, you hear, oh, this guy's a hero, that guy's a hero. Nagel, now meritoriously promoted to Lance Corporal, was manning an observation post, a guard post, in one of our fixed sites in the town. A taxi drove up and smashed into the front gate with no notice. Boom, blew up. A very large blast, knocks Nagel and everybody else to the ground. I mean, we're talking, very, very large bomb. Not quite as big as Oklahoma City, but pretty close. Then Nagel shakes the dust off, kind of clears his head, has the presence of mind to look around, sees a tanker truck barreling down the road. Nobody else around. Nagel knows the procedures that the enemy uses, which is one vehicle bomb to breach and one vehicle bomb to drive through the breach. He makes a split-second decision and says, that is hostile. That's a bad guy. Shoots at him with his M249 light machine gun, puts about 60 rounds into this vehicle, killing the driver, who had a dead man switch on the steering wheel. At least that's our assumption, because that vehicle blew up, showering the area with mortar rounds. It was larger than the bomb that went off against Oklahoma City. Just about decimated a city block here in the city of Ramadi, and would have killed probably 20, 30 Marines had he not been tough enough to get himself back up after a bomb blast and not been smart enough to engage that vehicle. So Nagel is an absolute hero. There's 25 Marines walking around today because of him.
And since then, we read the report in the paper that he was a little bit shaken up, and I guess an IED went off next to his up-armored Humvee. He doing all right?
That is correct. Yeah, he's doing great. In fact, he's probably, I'm not sure for exactly where he is at this second, but I assume he is out on patrol again or is going out on patrol tonight. Nagel's a tough kid, I got to tell you. He's not a kid, he's a man. But he is just a tough guy and down to earth, hasn't let this experience sour him or change him or anything else. And, I tell you, people in North Dakota ought to be proud of that guy. That guy should be going to college gratis on the state just for all the great PR the state's going to get from a guy like that serving here in the U.S. Marine Corps. He's a stud.
Hey, sir, can you put into words, I've asked General Kelly this and Paul Kennedy this and Dan Robertson and Steve Thompson and all the different guys I've had on the show. Can you put into words for people who've never had the experience that you're having, which is almost a sacred experience, I would say, leading in combat. Can you put into words what you see from the young people of the United States of America, in particular young American Marines? Can you put into words what it's like to watch them go to work every day and be so heroic, so selfless, and so courageous on a daily basis?
Sure. And again, these guys, they come from everywhere. Some of them are college graduates. Some of them come from very wealthy backgrounds. Some from the inner city, which is when it really split the tangent here. It really galls me when we have certain people that say that these guys, these young men and women in the Marine Corps, they're kind of victims. They had to join the Marine Corps. I mean, what load of crap is that? These guys joined the Marine Corps because they wanted to punch, and these guys get up every day. Well, they don't sleep very much, but so they're out working every day. They're on patrol. They're 19 years old. They're making the split-second decisions of life or death. And they're doing it for hundreds of days.
He was on a satellite phone, so I'll use the pause to reset the interview. You're listening to Lieutenant Colonel Eric Smith at the time, now Brigadier General Eric Smith, and he is at the time he is a battalion commander for 1st Battalion, 5th Marines. They're in Ramadi. It's 2005, and so what you're hearing is me interviewing him. He and I worked together in 2004. We're both in the division operations section, and so got to know him then. And after some prodding, he came on the program. Not a whole lot of prodding. Obviously, he's a busy guy. So, Lieutenant Colonel Eric Smith, we continue. Or not. Tell you what, we're late for a break, so we'll do that. I'll reset the interview, and you'll continue to hear it as we continue on a Thursday edition of All Marine Radio, right here on the All Warrior Radio Network.
Military life is rewarding, but it isn't always easy. Managing the stress can affect even the strongest warrior.
But I will stay mission ready.
I can.
I will keep my mind and body fit.
Talk to my chaplain.
Be there to listen.
I can, I will.
Know the signs.
Seek care early.
Talk to my healthcare provider. Be there to help, listen, and get you through this.
I can, I will motivate others.
Strive for progress, not perfection. I can, I will. Be there for my buddies, no matter what.
Be there for our veterans, no matter what.
And I've got your back, too.
I can, I will. Keep our family safe while you're away.
I can, I will. Think of you every night.
We're in this together.
I got this.
I got this.
I got this.
Take the first step.
There's no better time than now.
Reaching out is a sign of strength. Visit realwarriors.net or call 800-874-2273.
Is it?
We were rolling down this road in
Anbar province.
3 personnel carriers
With 16 of us on board.
all of a sudden
There was a huge explosion.
we knew right away
It was an IED. The first vehicle
got wasted, and those guys took
a
off.
huge hit.
Then we started taking
Sniper fire and RPGs from the hills.
In today's military, women face the same dangers as men.
It's pretty amazing.
We made it out alive.
But when they come home, women veterans confront a whole different set of challenges, like unique health care issues, or not receiving respect or even acknowledgement for serving in harm's way. DAV understands the problems women veterans face, and we can help. Many DAV advisors are female veterans. They've been there, and they're ready to provide expert guidance. DAV fights to get you the health, disability, and financial benefits you were promised and earned. If you're a veteran, visit DAV.org for free help.
You're listening to All Marine Radio on the All Warrior Radio Network. All right. Okay, enough of that. I've got stuff to do. I got no time for that. All right, we're going to continue with Lieutenant Colonel Eric Smith, live from Ramadi. A little trip down memory lane. But I think it's great to hear these interviews. At that time, Anbar very much in question. And Marines every day going out and fighting in Fallujah and Ramadi to get that stuff under control. And, by the way, we didn't have enough guys.
That guy should be going to college gratis on the state just for all the great PR the state's going to get from a guy like that serving here in the U.S. Marine Corps. He's a stud.
Hey, sir, can you put into words, I've asked General Kelly this, and Paul Kennedy this, and Dan Robertson, and Steve Thompson, and all the different guys I've had on the show. Can you put into words for people who've never had the experience that you're having, which is almost a sacred experience, I would say, leading in combat? Can you put into words what you see from the young people of the United States of America, in particular young American Marines? Can you put into words what it's like to watch them go to work every day and be so heroic, so selfless, and so courageous on a daily basis?
Sure, I can. These guys, they come from everywhere. Some of them are college graduates. Some of them come from very wealthy backgrounds. Some from the inner city, which is when it really split the tangent here. It really galls me when we have certain people that say that these guys. These young men and women in the Marine Corps, they're kind of victims, they had to join the Marine Corps. I mean, what load of crap is that? These guys join the Marine Corps because they want to college. And these guys get up every day. Well, they don't sleep very much, but so they're out working every day. They're on patrol. They're 19 years old. They're making split-second decisions of life or death. And they're doing it hundreds of days.
You break it up. Lieutenant Colonel Eric Smith is my guest, and at some point he's going to realize that he's talking to us.
The call could not be completed successfully. Please try again later.
At some point he'll realize that he's talking to himself, and happened to be on occasion. Eric Smith is an unbelievable guy if you're listening and you haven't figured that out. And shot and wounded in Iraq before, and hopefully this is him. Hey, sir, if you don't want to talk to me, you want to hang up, that's okay. You don't need to just hang up and act like that.
Here we go. I'm going to try this part again. Talk about these young men and women, and I have all men, by the way. There are no women in this battalion. And these guys, they get shot at by an insurgent with his machine gun. They look down their rifle sight at this guy, and they decide not to take the shot because they might hit some kid who is next to the guy, knowing full well that guy's going to come back out and shoot at him and maybe kill him that night. And then they turn around the next day and they go out there knowing that there's IEDs out on the road, but he's got to patrol, he's got to go out and clear those things. And then he goes and he helps out, some humanitarian stuff in the hospital. He doesn't complain. They ask him, hey, why didn't you take that shot? You probably could have hit that guy. It would be very unlikely you were going to hit that little kid or that woman. And he'll tell you, hey, because it was the wrong thing to do. Here's a 19-year-old guy whose life is in danger right then, and is going to be in danger tomorrow from that same guy. But sometimes he doesn't take the shot because it's not the right thing to do. I mean, how's that for a 19-year-old? You'll figure your average 19-year-old guy going to college, he'll make that kind of selfless decision. I would say the answer is no.
So what's it like to lead that? I mean, I watched that stuff and was very envious of the guys who were privileged enough to lead that. What's it like to lead that?
I tell you, these guys, I'm the coach. I do a little coaching, a little mentoring, a little bit of guidance. But these guys do all the work. Leading it is a privilege. You are the guy who kind of sets the general direction, but all the work gets done by these guys. And the unfortunate part of the leading part is you do have to write some letters home, and you have to tell mothers and wives, what they dread hearing. So it's a solemn obligation, is what it is. It's not a good deal. It's not a feather in your cap. It's a solemn obligation. And if you ask a Lance Corporal who's leading 3 other Marines, he's got the exact same sentiment that I do. Solemn obligation. Nothing in it for you.
Lieutenant Colonel Eric Smith is my guest. Sir, what's it, when you got shot last year, what's it like to get shot?
Weird. I don't know. Feel like you got hit by a hammer, and kind of stings a little bit. And I was real fortunate. I was able to stay in we had a decent gunfight going there for about an hour, and a guy named Mark Johnson, who had also been shot in that attack, shot in the hand, was able to patch up my leg, stop the bleeding, so I didn't lose that much blood. Stayed in the fight and was good, and then was able to come back, to work there within a day or so. So I was real fortunate. So what was your first thought when it happened? Did you think what went through your head? There was nothing. I mean, there was a lot of stuff going across the hood of the. I was actually sitting in a Humvee. We were traveling when we got hit. So just the initial thought was General Kelly was actually with me. He was one vehicle behind. Just a lot of things thinking about. Hey, General Mattis, who was our commanding general, had a saying that we stuck to, which is if you're wounded, reach for your weapon, not for your wound. So your initial response is okay. We got to get these guys. These guys just shot and killed. A kid named Chance Phelps, young Lance Corporal, was shot and killed instantly.
From Montana.
You're listening to Lieutenant Colonel Eric Smith here on a Thursday edition of All Marine Radio. He just mentioned Chance Phelps. HBO wound up doing a special, a movie. Kevin Bacon stars in it, and the movie's called Taking Chance, and it's about the escort, lieutenant colonel type, and that's what Kevin Bacon plays, who takes possession of Lance Corporal Phelps's remains when he arrives at Dover, and the journey he takes to Montana, where he's buried. And so, I mean, kind of a small world here. You're hearing about the HBO special, and it is not even created at the time of the interview, so we don't know about it. But that's kind of small world stuff in the aftermath of all of this. More of Lieutenant Colonel Eric Smith at the time, the year's 2005. The interview's from Ramadi, Iraq. Yeah. And there's some payback that goes with that. So initial thought is, okay, how are we going to get this guy? We're going to dismount, we're going to maneuver, and some great guys. A guy named Corporal Chad Reiner and Dan Robertson, who's been on your show, start maneuvering, and we killed a few of those guys, and some of them we didn't. They extended and got away. But I think your first thought is, okay, how do I fix this situation? And that's a big difference between our military and some others. Our first response is, how do I kill that guy, as opposed to how do I get out of here? I didn't want to get out of there. I wanted to kill those 20 or 25 guys that just shot and killed Lance Corporal Phelps.
getting away from there was not really part of the plan. The plan was to find those 25 guys and kill them. And we got some of that done, but not all of it.
My guest, Lieutenant Colonel Eric Smith from the city of Ramadi this morning. So I want to ask you a tough question. You've lost 2 company commanders since you've been over there. And those guys each controlled about almost 200 Marines when your companies were reinforced. Tremendous loss, and also your personal peers, the guys you spend the most time with, and whatnot. Can you put into words what it's like to lose those kind of key guys? And then the second part of the question is, how do you bring somebody in to replace those guys, and what did you do to do that? So the first part is, how do you deal with combat loss of those kind of guys when you have to go back out and go to work the next day?
Both those guys, Jamie Edge, commanded my Bravo company, was shot and killed by a sniper April 14th, and John Maloney, commanded my Charlie company, was killed by an IED on June 16th. Tremendous gunfighters, husbands, fathers, both had 2 small children. You don't really get over the loss. None of us have really finished the whole grieving process, if you will. We'll do that when we go home. Because quite honestly, right now, there's not time. We have a small memorial service, and it hurts. Those are the guys. I brought 5 guys. Every Marine's in charge of 4 or 5 guys. That's how it works. Fire team leader, squad leader. I brought over 5 company commanders, and I lost 2 of them. So that hurts.
How do you replace those kind of key parts of your team? Who replaced them?
I took my headquarters company commander and moved him over, a guy named Dave Schneider. And then I brought a replacement company commander back from 3rd Battalion 5th Marines, a guy named Tom Knoll, who had participated in the assault on Fallujah in November and Al-Fajr. He did not get home until March, volunteered to come out here, and after being home for only a couple of months, and he took over HMS, and then when John Maloney was killed, I moved him over. So these guys, I did it within 24 hours of the death of the company commander. And both those men, within 24 hours, were out operating in the field with their units. And the most gratifying thing, if you can say that, about a bad experience is that the Marines step up. They new company commanders giving the orders, got it, and they move on. And they respect and love both those company commanders, but they also know that we got a job to do right now, and so there's no time for pity parties or anything else. And they take those orders from those new guys, and they move out, and those 2 company commanders that stepped up to the plate are doing tremendous jobs. And it's just there's very few organizations in the world that could do that, and there's very few men in America that could do that. So I got a bunch of them living right here, and I got to tell you, people say about the best and the brightest. Well, I'll take that challenge any day. I got the best and the brightest, and they're right here in 1-5, every one of them.
Lieutenant Colonel Eric Smith, live from Ramadi, Iraq, joins us today. And sir, first of all, I want to thank you for taking time out. I know what a busy schedule you have, and have been bugging you a little bit. And I know how much you guys have been fighting. But you can't believe after we do these interviews, whether it be yourself, General Kelly, Dan Robertson, or Paul Kennedy, all the different guys I've had on, people walk up to me and say, I sit there and listen with my mouth hanging open at the stuff these guys say. And I've got an email question for you.
Sure.
We hear so much about a timetable to leave Iraq. Mac lectures us on a conditions-based relief in place, which is essentially what has to happen over there. Would you advise the American people to be more patient or less patient in terms of how we view what's going on over there?
Well, I think you have to be more patient. These guys lived under a dictator for 30 years, and it's been 2 years since the fall of Hussein. 2 years. We messed around with our Constitution for 8. It's going to take a while. Freedom is a costly thing, and not to lecture or anything, but I got to tell you, half of the reason that we're here is freedom for the Iraqi people. But the other half of the reason that we're here is because of who we are as a people. If we're not willing to extend freedom to other parts of the world that don't have it, then what do we exist for? To take care of ourselves, feed ourselves, play Game Boy, I don't know. Freedom is something that's an ideal. And just because the Iraqi people may not pick up the mantle of freedom and carry it forward. That doesn't excuse us of our responsibility to offer it. And if you don't believe that, then you're crazy. But the people here, at least the ones I work with, we really believe that. And, you got to have an ideal to stand for. And if you don't stand for that, then what do you stand for?
Final question for you, sir. A lot of the lessons that people ought to see, if they could just be kind of like Tinkerbell and fly over to Iraq and hang out with you guys, are lessons about parenting, about having standards for young people. Talk about the youth of America as you see it and what it's capable of achieving. And again, the age group you're talking about, much maligned. You mentioned Xboxes a few minutes ago, much maligned.
Sure.
Xbox, hanging around at malls, do nothing. Talk about the youth of America and what it takes to get them going and your thoughts on raising kids.
Well, I got two of my own. My daughter's 14, my son's 12. Here's what I think. I think you give them what they need, not what they want. And that's what I give the Marines. And what they want is extra sleep. What they want is to come off of a patrol and just kind of shoot the breeze. What they need is to clean their weapons. And what they need is to check their ammunition and clean the windshield of their Humvee. So same thing with kids. You give them what they need, not what they want. These guys, the guys that I work with every day, the Marines here, these are the exact same guys who got off the landing craft at Iwo Jima, and they fought their way ashore, and they took Mount Suribachi, and they literally saved the world. They're the exact same guys. They just got different last names now, but they're capable of anything. Youth of America, same. If you challenge them and you test them like these guys are tested, they're capable of anything. There is the greatest generation, and they'll always be the greatest generation because they've literally saved the world. But there's another generation that's a great generation. And, we're watching them. I mean, they're doing it here every day. This is a savage war, and there's no let up here. It's 24/7. There's no Australia here where you go and you refit and regroup. It's every day, 24/7. And these guys are stepping up. And you know what? They don't need your sympathy. They don't need you to tell them, oh, I feel so bad for you. They don't need anything other than your support. And they don't ask for anything. They're selfless, and they're dedicated, and they're willing to give their lives for a cause, for something bigger than themselves. And that sounds all hokey and everything else. But I got to tell you, these guys believe it. And if you don't believe that, then get your butt over here, and I'll introduce you to 1,000 guys who will beat the crap out of you for impugning their integrity, because that's why they're here.
Beat the crap out of them?
Can I say that on the air? Well, I know I think you said words.
I think you just did. Hey, sir, you and I had a discussion, and you asked if there wasn't something that we could do, and my listeners, I know would be happy to do it, for Marines and soldiers that have been caught in IEDs or burned. Talk about what goes on in San Antonio, and just so people hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, I had an IED go off underneath the Humvee, killed John Maloney, my company commander, and a young man named Lance Corporal Helt. Wounded, badly burned 3 other Marines, the worst of whom is a guy named Sergeant Sanchez, who's still down there. And there's others. There's dozens of others. Burns are just hideous things. They get worse before they get better. There's guys missing limbs, who are now without eyesight. And then burns, again, are one of the absolute worst things. If you want to do something, do a little research on Brooklyn Army Medical Center down in Texas, where they treat most of these burn victims. Adopt a guy. And quite honestly, there are programs out there where you can donate money and everything else. You can donate if you want to. But what they really just want is some support. Send a guy a letter. Or pick a guy. Look on the Internet, call a unit, and pick a guy. And say, you know what, I'm going to do something good for that guy because he did something good for me. Give him a job when he gets out of the Marine Corps. Help him out if you're a college admissions guy. Give him a little guidance. Those are the kind of things that these guys need. Just one-on-one. You pick one guy and make one life a little bit better, and the ramifications of that, the ripple effect of that is huge because the whole Marine Corps hears about it.
Sergeant Sanchez, what's his first name?
I'm ashamed. I'm having a brain malfunction right now, and I can't tell you his full name.
All right, could you shoot me an email just with his first name when you get a chance?
I can shoot you the whole thing, Mac. I can give you his room number down there. We get an update on him about every third day. His wife's down there with him. He's got a small child, And this guy was very badly burned. Was able to pull himself and another Marine out of a burning Humvee, which was very badly damaged. And I can indeed. I'll send you Sergeant Sanchez's data, his vitals, and just a letter. I mean, that guy's as tough as nails. He's burned over 70% of his body, and he's walking, doing what Marines do, kind of skew and pain medicine, and he can do it on his own. And burns are horrible things. I don't think people have any idea what it is to overcome burns. They've been burned.
Hey, sir, when do you guys go home?
Scheduled for maybe later next month, early October. We always try to kind of keep it open just in case get extended, but September, October time frame. So looking forward to that, but not really thinking about it yet. We still got another 45 days of fighting to do, and if you know the saying, Mac, complacency kills. So you can get yourself killed the last day just like the first day. So we'll think about going home when we're in Kuwait on an airplane.
All right, sir. First of all, again, thank you very much for the visit, and would love to talk to you again in about 3 or 4 weeks and catch up with the Marines, 1st Battalion, 5th Marines. But all the best of luck in that absolute crap hole of a city, Ramadi, and just so all you guys.
You said crap and did get in trouble, and I said crap and I got dinged. What's going on with that?
I'm the host of the show.
Standard,
okay.
There it is.
The show is called Mac Talk, not Smith Talk.
Well, that's, hey, remember what I said about giving a guy a job when he gets out? Well, Mac, there's your challenge. Always want to be a talk show host.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, do your Forrest Gump impersonation.
I don't think I can do it now. The mood's got to be on me, Mac. I got to see your smiling face to do it.
All right, sir. Hey, all the best. We'll keep you guys in our thoughts and our prayers, and really appreciate your time this morning.
Hey, Mac, thanks for taking the time to let us tell our story, because very few people do. Most people have the story written before they ever come to Iraq, and thanks for letting a little light of day get to what's really going on here.
All right, appreciate it, sir. You take care.
Thanks, brother. See ya.
All right, Lieutenant Colonel Eric Smith from the city of Ramadi.
How about that? Lieutenant Colonel Eric Smith, pretty fired up, doing what he's doing. And love those interviews. Somebody, again, a friend of mine said, hey, you have some great interviews. Why don't you play them? And so I thought I'd play that one for you this morning. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about traumatic brain injury. We're going to talk about depression. We're going to talk about post-traumatic stress disorder. Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, doing some great work. We're going to talk to Dr. Barbara O. Rothbaum, and she's going to join us here in a couple minutes. More of All Marine Radio on the All Warrior Network coming up next.